This is Johanna Thomas at the Health Optimisation Summit at Kensington Olympia, talking men, women, healthy relationships, healthy bodies, and so much more with the super famous American relationship counselor, lecturer, and author, Dr. John Gray. In 1992, he published the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which became a long-term bestseller and formed the central theme for all his subsequent books and career activities. Dr. John, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's so great to have you here. So what does optimal health mean to you?
Well, optimal health means happiness and you're not sick. You have energy, you have vitality, you feel self-esteem, you feel good about yourself, you have a great sex life, and you feel ecstatic part of the time.
You make it sound so easy.
It's been a lifetime of learning how to do that, but
exactly.
I live it. I do live it.
And in that lifetime, how many books have you written now?
25.
Wow, that's incredible. So, and you've got, I'm pleased that you've managed to get so much material from just simple men and women, although we're not that simple.
Well,
right?
they're not all exactly the male-female. I wrote a book called How to Get What You Want and Want What You Have, Practical Miracles. There's some books on just life lessons,
Right.
but most of it is the male-female material when they're dating, when they're having sex, when they're parenting, when they're in love, when they get married. There's a bunch of different things about men and women. But my basic focus is the gender differences and how to honor both the male and female so we can connect better.
Fantastic, I love it. So what would you say are the 5 top mistakes that men and women make, and how should we be reacting or whatever?
There's a question I would hear back in the 90s, but I have to adjust it, and that's why I've written a book called Beyond Mars and Venus. The number one mistake, and it's not so much one thing, it's where we're coming from these days, is that women have become more masculine and they've lost touch with their feminine. I'm not saying women shouldn't be more masculine, I'm saying women should balance the masculine with the feminine. So then you have to now define what masculine is and feminine is, and the book does that. But in short, when you're feeling independent, you don't need anybody, that's the masculine energy.
Right.
And you can biologically measure that. If you're on your male side, you're making testosterone. If you're on your female side, which is where you're depending on others for support, and you feel love and appreciation of what you have in your life, that's a sense of fulfillment, a sense of happiness, a sense of interdependence. That's all estrogen stimulating,
right.
or progesterone stimulating. When you're doing things for yourself as a woman that you enjoy, you're producing progesterone, which you need to dominate. That needs to be the dominant hormone after you ovulate till your period.
Yes.
And from your period to ovulation, that's where your body needs to start making more estrogen. And when you're in a pair bonding situation, as opposed to doing something just for yourself or with other people, but for yourself, you're doing something you like to do for you. And they can be doing it too for themselves. That's one kind of relating, friends, so forth. Then another is where you're getting help from someone. Another is where you're giving help. Well, when you're giving help, you're actually making testosterone, and when you're receiving help, you're making estrogen. When you go to your doctor and you need help and guidance and advice, you're actually making more estrogen. That's called pair bonding.
Fascinating.
When you're in a relationship with a partner, you're depending on them for love and support, which is the more evolved we become as a species, the more aware we are of our need for love. Many people are not so much aware of that, but there's a deep need that we have to express who we authentically are, and that's to feel understood, accepted, appreciated, cared for. These are all awarenesses that come as we increase estrogen and testosterone. So we want to have kind of a balance of both. So I'm helping women find that balance, helping men find that balance, because men today tend to produce more estrogen and less testosterone.
Right.
And so how can men learn to once again produce plenty of testosterone while they're also making the estrogen? Whenever you're doing something you love, like he's playing a video game, or he's watching sports, or he's drinking beer with his buddies, he's having fun, he's making estrogen,
right.
which balances his testosterone, feels good. But when you make too much estrogen, you get addicted to it. Like
right.
pornography online, sex online is massively addictive, massively estrogen stimulating. It gives a burst of testosterone as the aliveness, but then he ejaculates, it makes huge amount of estrogen.
Does it give the dopamine or some kind of
massive high? When you have sex with fantasy or someone you don't know, you make way more dopamine, particularly if you're a man, some women, but particularly if you're a man, you produce way more dopamine than you would if it's with your partner, someone you love.
Wow.
See, sex should not be just for the pleasure. Sex should ideally be, at least in my experience and what I aspire towards, it's only to make love. but it's sex.
Yes.
Sex generates and it creates more feeling of love. You see, you lose the feeling of love. No, there's even books written that love is a behavior, it's not a feeling. These are because people never learned how to sustain the feeling of love, a sweet, sweet feeling of tenderness and love for the person you share your life with. And then it's ecstatic in the bedroom in a private way.
Right.
You go higher levels of love than you would feel with anybody else. And that's a special relationship. And that takes skill, that takes understanding. It takes women learning how to come back to their female side, because you can't be orgasmic and want sex unless your estrogen levels double.
Okay.
And if you're making testosterone all day, it's less chance of your estrogen levels
So maybe
doubling.
if you're like a powerful businesswoman and you're on it all day long, you're full of testosterone, and then you come home and he's on his powerful testosterone as well. Isn't that going to be a bit of a clash?
Well, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, it prevents him from... He will tend to, he loves her, so he will tend to polarize. Men will tend to become lazy as women feel overwhelmed. So you'll see this. Women will say, oh, I have so much to do, I can't relax. And look at my husband, he's sitting on the couch and he's saying, I'm so tired, I can't get up. See, he's got magnets on his butt that keep him from having energy, that's low testosterone, and she's got this, I can't relax. So she can't come back to her female side, he can't come back to his male side. See, male side is if there's a fire, you suddenly have plenty of energy, you'll do whatever it takes to save your wife and children.
Right.
Okay, you're the hero. That's testosterone spiking. When men are angry, this is a very important point. If they're angry, argumentative, defensive, lazy, irritable, grumpy, all those bad symptoms of men is always high estrogen, low testosterone.
I see. So how do we actually, if we have this scenario where the man's magnet is stuck to the to the sofa, how do we get it out? How do you get into that life energy?
Yes, well, one is... it's called Read My Book, Beyond Mars and Venus, because it's like a lot of stuff you have to do. But the reality is to stop trying to get him to change and start coming back to your female side and use him to come back to your female side. You use it by learning how to express emotion. Emotion is the most estrogen stimulating thing there is. And most women who are on their male side, they'll talk about problems, but often they won't even talk to their husbands anymore because they're too busy. Mm-hmm. It used to be in the 90s, women would say, he doesn't listen. Now what they say is, he doesn't listen, so I'm too busy. See, when you're making testosterone all day, you disconnect from feeling.
Right.
They're there. With women biologically under moderate stress, which is our lifestyle today, women produce 8 times more blood flow to the emotional part of the brain, which is constantly being suppressed when you're on the testosterone side. So literally, they build up these emotions inside and they go numb, and you can't enjoy sex. You can't feel love. You can't feel happiness. You can't feel relaxation. You can't ask for help. You can't feel dependent on someone. It's like that's a dirty word today, because if you're too dependent, it's a bad thing.
I know, it's considered to be a bad thing, but actually I think it's a really lovely thing.
It's beautiful. It's what, this is what sex is about, It's like a woman opens herself up to totally depend on a man to bring her up. But she has to feel trust. She has to feel safe.
Sure.
These are all hormones in the body.
Right.
And when you're making testosterone, you can't make the hormones of safety. You just
crazy.
can't. They're opposite forces. There's the yin and the yang, and it's learning to identify those. And then what I spent 40 years teaching people is how does men help women come back to their female side, and how women can help men come back to their male side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do you find that in today's society, where we are surrounded by technology and all these gadgets that we play with all day long, our hand is always on the phone, is that making relationships harder?
Yes, very much harder. What happens is you have something called high stimulation.
Right.
Any digital stimulation produces more dopamine than personal interaction. Okay, so suddenly what happens, like if you took cocaine, what happens is your ability to enjoy walking and seeing a sunset has diminished 30%. You lose your ability to experience pleasure by normal stimulation. Your brain rewires itself in a certain way where only thing that gives you pleasure is high stimulation.
Yes.
Just like if you eat a cookie, you want another one. If it's a high sugar, that throws you out of balance. You keep going further and further out of balance. Digital stimulates higher levels of dopamine than actually feeling love.
Wow.
So a child today used to, mother say, I want you to eat your vegetables. And why? I don't like vegetables. Oh, it makes me happy. We do that as a family. That motivates a child, mother's happiness.
Sure.
Mothers have no power today. She has to say, okay, if you eat your broccoli, then you get your dessert. And then you get the dessert, which now stimulates the brain even more to depend on high stimulation to motivate you. Low stimulation doesn't create the pleasure. And what's devastating is the poor male population who just got sucked into the online pornography. ejaculating. Ejaculation is like a cocaine shot.
Right.
And men need to only do that when they're making love, and not that frequently.
Right.
Research shows that if a man ejaculates twice a week, you'll have low testosterone levels.
And it also depletes you of zinc as well. It's why a lot of the pubescent boys, they're covered in spots because that's all they're doing all day.
That's exactly right.
So,
and zinc is so important. You lose a whole day's supply of zinc with one ejaculation.
It's crazy, huh?
And there's such a zinc deficiency. I believe that's one of the reasons that the male population is 5 times more at risk of autism than the female population. Because when a baby is born, baby boy, for the first 2 years, his body actually makes the testosterone levels of a grown man.
Wow.
And it's this 2-year time where the brain's being structured as different from a female with the testosterone.
Yeah.
And to make testosterone, you utilize zinc.
Yes.
And so if you don't have enough zinc in your diet, for example, you're not going to produce the neuroprotectors, because zinc is one of the minerals, the prime mineral, to help the brain protect itself from mercury toxicity.
Sure.
So there's various sources of mercury, and girls are more free from it because estrogens, mercury, frees them from the toxicity of that. It's a neuroprotector.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then after 2 years old, then he has the estrogen levels of a little girl until he's in 13 years old.
Wow.
Then it jumps up like 5 to 10 times.
That's fascinating, isn't it? My gosh. Okay, so I'm super excited personally to talk to you today because I actually got married 3 months ago today. So any top advice for someone in my position as how to go for the whole longevity of the relationship? Any secret tips?
Yeah, lots of secret tips.
You must have hundreds of them.
I have
I need
hundreds
them all.
Okay, well the main thing, and this is, you're in a happy place, okay?
Yeah.
So in a happy place, it's hard to feel negative. But so what you do is you want to keep this aura of romance and good feeling, and that's because of the newness. Okay, there's a challenge to getting to know someone. What do I do this right? What do I not do? What would happen? All that newness is challenge. That stimulates high dopamine levels. So you're in the glow of high dopamine levels. So this is when actually your best time to negotiate.
Ooh,
okay, so this is when you want to, you're in this place, I'm so happy, this is when you want to practice making little requests for things.
Such
as, oh, would you help me with this?
Okay.
And so you want to create a dynamic where you're not so desireless.
Right,
Often women want to feel like, oh, I'm happy with you just the way you are, which men love. But also, I'm even happier. His job is never to make you happy. His job is to make you happier.
Okay, so if I say to him, it would make me happier if you could possibly help me.
Too much buffering on that.
Okay.
It's like, it's like, I'm asking, just simply, oh, honey, would you help me with this? And then give a big smile when he does. Okay. And, oh, let's go do this. And next weekend, make sure every weekend you're doing something which you would call romantic. Romance is a big thing for estrogen stimulator. And women think romance, their mind have this setup. When he comes up with the idea, then it's romantic. But men, basically, once they marry you, they figure, okay, now I don't have to do all that other stuff.
Yeah, because I'm married, I've done it.
Because we're married, I've done it. Now I'm doing the big stuff. In his mind, it's not like I'm being lazy. I'm doing the big stuff. Why do I need the little stuff?
Yeah.
He doesn't know that the little stuff is what keeps you juicy.
That's right.
And he doesn't know that.
He thinks because we got the ring and walked down the aisle, his job is now done.
Yeah, because but it's not just the ring. It's, remember, he's going to provide. He's dedicated. You're the one, and that's big stuff. And the dating part, he's going, I'm not sure. But so he's not going to give you the big stuff. Once he gives you the big stuff, why do I need to do the little stuff? It's the little stuff that causes you to fall in love with him.
For sure.
He doesn't know that. So you have to, and you can also educate him.
Gets more points in the day.
Yes, that's right. So then you get into the whole point thing, which is, and people go, oh, we shouldn't be keeping score. Our bodies keep score.
It's natural.
Our bodies keep score. And so biologically, I can give her 50 roses. She's going to give a surge of estrogen that will last a little bit. And I can give her 1 rose, same surge of estrogen.
For 50 days.
That's right. Well, no. It's the same surge that the 50 roses would have done. And roses is a romantic symbol. One reason is because they die in a week. That means you have to keep replenishing.
Yes.
Guy will go, oh, I gave her 40 roses. That's good for 6 months. I can ignore that. No. Or he'd say, my Bonnie used to say to me, oh, why don't you bring me flowers anymore? I said, well, honey, you're going to the grocery store. They're cheaper there. You can pick them up. And then she said, John, I can do that, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same. It's not the same. Women need to feel that men are doing little things for them, and men will stop doing that. So you have to inform him of what you need. So with a romantic date, You basically, it's your job, because you're the one who wants the romance. He just wants the sex, okay? And so he just basically, you say romance, men translate sex, okay? And women are translating feeling special, feeling something, she's the center of attention, there's affection, she's getting what she wants, she feels safe. That's romance, or part of romance. So, but you're on your male side now. Your male side says, I can go out and get what I want. So you should go out and get romance.
Right.
And that's what you have to do. You've got the male side to do it. The way you organize it is you don't say, okay, next Saturday I want to do this. Then he doesn't feel like the man. He feels like he's just a servant. Okay. So what you do is you say, next week I was reading, there's this. I heard somebody told me about this, and somebody told me about that. Would you plan one of those? I can't make up my mind.
Nice.
But he knows if he picks any of the three, you will be happy. And he's the winner, and he decided. See, decision is a big thing. Sometimes I'll take my wife to the movies, and she'll just say, oh, let's go see this movie. I said, sure. And then she doesn't do that, but I'm happy with that. And then she comes and we're in a social event, and she says, oh, we saw this movie, it was great. And how did you find out about it? And she says, oh, I read it in the paper. And she gets all the credit, and the guy doesn't get the credit. But she could always say that, oh, John decided. That sense of...
And then he feels wonderful.
That he feels wonderful, and he feels successful. The bottom line, male, female, women need to feel safe and special. Men need to feel successful. Everything for men. And why that is because when you feel I'm being acknowledged for making a difference, I'm successful. What happens then is testosterone goes up. Successful women have testosterone, but that can lower their estrogen.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it does. You can't make a lot of estrogen while you're making testosterone.
Right.
But you can anticipate coming home to a life which is estrogen stimulating.
Right, so it's about balance.
Then that will balance it.
Okay.
So if you're having on a regular basis, you're having intimate conversation, vulnerable conversation, where you don't have the persona of I'm the executive woman, I've got it all together, because every executive woman, she's got it all together, comes into my office, and within 20 minutes, I've got her crying.
Oh my gosh.
This is inside of women. They have way more emotion than men do. And when men have all that emotion, it's because they're out of balance. When women don't have that emotion, it's because women are out of balance. So women need to go, and the more women on their masculine side, think of a pendulum, go to the rational, logical, and independent, don't need anybody, being in charge, that's masculine. To find balance, she has to go further to the non-rational, emotional side of her being. I can't do it all myself, I'm falling apart, I need help. That vulnerable part. And what confident woman wants to go there? That's why all my suggestions, you really got to understand the basis here, because they don't feel natural. Okay. You got all your guard. If you're out of balance, it's because your brain thinks that's where I need to go. Just like if you're out of balance in your diet, you're eating junk food, you're not exercising, you're lazy, whatever it is you think that's right for you, it's not. If you're not getting the results, something you're doing is not right.
You need to change it. Yeah. So can you biohack a relationship?
Can you what?
Biohack a relationship, as we're at the biohacking
Well, this is the
summit.
biohacking. And absolutely, that's what this is about. It's learning how to change certain behaviors at certain times of the month in order to generate hormonal balance, which will sustain creative thinking, emotional highs, great sex, and all those things. You biohack. One biohack is, for men, is not ejaculating. At a maximum would be once a week, and only when you want to make love. And if you learn how to train your body to last longer in sex. The more men get addicted to porn, and the more they masturbate, the shorter they last in sex. They can't sustain arousal, a strong erection for an hour. Okay, should just be able to keep going and little pauses, changing positions, kissing and loving. But when I talk about sex, it's not just performance. If a male, you've got to have your performance so she gets the time she needs to fully go to higher levels of orgasm. But he needs to get very clearly, it's the love that you're generating. And as soon as you start getting too focused on the pleasure, you're no longer feeling the increasing feelings of love. So expression, communication, I love you, you're so important to me. If it's your husband, with my wife, it's the tender moments, is when you feel it so strongly, is that you're my wife, I'm yours, we're together forever. That's the sweetest feeling. You can't have that with everybody else. You're making her more special than anybody. And you're possessing her. She's possessing you. You're mine. I am hers. You see, there's such sweetness about that. and then we're together forever. That is a beautiful union of the yin yang.
So words are very powerful at the end of the day, aren't
So
they? Communication
words are so
is key.
important. And so a part of that is women are constantly needing reassurance. Okay, men have to get, she needs reassurance. You need to do all kinds of little things that say she's special, she's important, you love her more than anybody else. And you need to produce certain hormones in her. Hugs, for example, minimum of 4 hugs a day.
Nice.
Waking up, going back, going to work, coming back from work, going to bed, at least always hugs. And they're not just these quick pat on your back hugs.
No.
Okay, it's a full hug, at least 6 seconds, nice sweet connection, heartfelt connection, and at least in 1 or 2 you say some compliment. The guy does it. Now a woman can do it, that's nice, but she should make sure he's doing it.
Yes.
Because it's the man going into the woman, then the woman responding. That's always the balance.
Yes.
And whenever relationships are out of balance, it's usually women say, I give and give, I don't get back. And so it always becomes the blame game. And he says, no matter what I do, she's never happy. Because whatever he doesn't know the right things to do. And
so sometimes they do nothing because they think they're going to...
Well, eventually they'll do nothing because they haven't gotten the payment.
Right.
The payment is I did something and it worked.
And I want thanks for
Okay,
it.
it doesn't have to be thanks.
Okay.
It has to be a response that's positive.
Acknowledgement. Okay.
If you're saying thank you, that can be rather boring.
Okay,
It becomes a thing you do. It's an authentic response. It's a delight. It's, oh, that's so helpful. Oh, happy. Thank you. Thank you can be there. It's like, oh, that's such a good idea. Here's 3 phrases other than thank you women can say. That really helps. Another one is, you're my hero. Oh, you're my hero today. Or it can be, that makes sense. Or what a good idea. Or you're right. Some women will throw up when I say you're my hero because they can't imagine feeling I depend on him. But that's what femininity is. Yes, because you're newly married. And what happens is when he's disappointed you enough times, then you kind of go, well, you can't depend on a man. This is what happens.
Right.
Women become jaded and men become jaded. This is what a lot of marriage is about.
For sure.
And the higher expectations we have, which is our modern society, because we see on Facebook, everybody's happy on Facebook, and everybody's always on vacation, And you just look at your own family, how everybody could be at war, and you say, let's take a picture, and everybody looks happy. Well, I'm having so much fun here. I got a stomach ache. I can't sleep at night. I'm taking drugs for this. My husband's doing that. Just hey, everybody's happy.
Smoke and mirrors, I always say. Smoke and mirrors. Well, that's just fascinating. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but so you've been hosting wellness seminars for the last 10 years at your ranch. Is that right? How can people connect and follow you?
Well, I no longer do them at my ranch, but I do in San Francisco, right near the city, and right across the bay. In San Francisco, only a few times a year I do them. I've got one coming up in October.
Lovely.
And they're 3 days, and it could be singles, it could be couples, and they're wonderful. They're life transformational.
Sure.
I mean, they're just wonderful. But I do a lot of my work now is in other countries, and I do longer seminars, particularly in China.
Okay.
They're very, very hungry for this information.
Wow.
And it's easier in a certain sense there for people to just jump into this because they're having so many problems in their marriages. Because they suddenly go from communism to capitalism. It's like, I'm free, I want more. And so women and men, they're all out there wanting more, but they're all on their male side wanting more. And when women are on their male side, men can't stay turned on to them. So there's a lot of infidelity that goes on and so forth, and men losing interest in their wives because women don't know how to be vulnerable there. And it's easier for women to be vulnerable there because they don't blame men so much. They blame the system.
Okay.
They don't have the whole men are bad thing, and they know men are wonderful. We wouldn't be where we are today if we didn't have good women and good men.
You need both of them.
We need both. We need both.
And so what's your website? How can people follow you? Facebook or Instagram or?
MarsVenus.com. MarsVenus.com.
Okay.
And then there's Mars Venus Facebook. You can just search John Gray, Facebook, somewhere on there. You'll find
and have
me.
you got another book coming, or what's the future for you?
Future for me is another book on sex, because there's new research to validate the ideas of my earlier book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom, which is a good basic primer for couples to have lasting sex for a lifetime. And then there's the book that will come out, which is to be super person, ecstatic sex. And it was just too advanced to teach back in those days. It's enough just to do the basics at a next level up. Next level up is basically always she has orgasm first.
Okay.
And now it's teaching men how not to ejaculate and to become orgasmic, and women to be orgasmic. So that's probably in 2 years I'll write that book, and probably next year I'll write the book. I'm still in the grieving process. I lost my wife a year ago
I'm so sorry.
ovarian cancer. It was
gosh,
awful.
it's tough,
And so I've been grieving the last year. I'm kind of coming through it. And so I'll write another book on grieving. I wrote a book called Mars and Venus Starting Over, which is after a breakup or the loss of a loved one, how to get through it. But it was really more about divorce. Right. And this is more about your husband or wife dies.
Yeah, I mean, it's like losing your right arm or something, isn't it? I mean, part of your body that you've lived with forever. How many years were you together?
34, well, more than 30. We married 34 years, 40 years together. So.
Gosh, that's very tough, yeah.
Oh, it's like, my whole life is turned over. But so the process, so that book I think I'll call, I need a good title to start a book, the starting point is everything. But it came to me, it was, how do you say goodbye?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Just such a, I could just say the title.
I don't know if you ever do say goodbye, really, do you? So, but it's tough.
You say goodbye to their body.
Yeah,
And you have them in your heart, but there's a healing process. Now I walk through my house, I have pictures of her everywhere, and now I can not feel the pain, but I just feel more love and sweetness and gratitude. But there's a place where people don't know how to grieve, so they will always feel the pain when they're reminded they're their partner or their life before. And they feel, and then another process is, I went through all of them again. I mean, even though I've been through this with all these losses in my life, my mother died of a mistake, a medical mistake. My father died of a robbery and a murder. My brother died of suicide. He was bipolar. Another brother died of liver cancer. My younger sister died of Alzheimer's at 60. I've been through the whole gamut of grief, but this has really thrown me for a loop, because 34 years, making love to somebody on a regular basis, there's such a connection and interdependence is massive. So, but there's a journey you go through, and part of it is, at the stage I'm at now after a year, is having to constantly let go of the idea that I shouldn't be happy. See, because what happens is the only reason you feel so much pain when someone you love dies is because you love them so much. And so I love you so much, therefore I miss you so much. So if I don't miss you so much and I don't feel the pain, then maybe I don't love you so much.
Is that wrong?
So there's that place where you have to give yourself permission to move on and be happy again and find love again.
You only live once, right? So you've got to make the most of it. Well, I wish you all the best with that, and thank you so much for your time today. Much love and appreciation to you.
Thank you.
This is Johanna Thomas, your resident holistic nutritionist for The Way Forward.